So now I am really looking forward to hearing from our awesome panelists. I've seen them around. Teresa, who's one of them, is smiling there on the board that's been there today. So it's awesome to have her back. And yeah, just really looking forward to getting in this conversation about representation and empowerment and just how incredible women are. If you're a woman and you're proud to be one, give me a woo. I love it. I've got to save my voice a bit. I was singing a lot last night, don't ask. So I am first going to welcome Lucy Quist. So Lucy is an accomplished strategic business leader with extensive experience in financial services and telecommunications. She's the author of the book, The Bold New Normal, a powerful looking read. It coincided with the 400th anniversary of the start of slavery. Lucy's passionate about giving back, having written numerous articles and resources on how you can advance in your career and, of course, leadership. If we give it up for Lucy to please join us. Thank you. Next, I'd like to call Nedra Dixon. So Nedra is from Atlanta, Georgia in the US. And she is the managing director at Accenture and leads Accenture's global suppliers diversity and sustainability programs across 20 countries. She's the chair of the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. And it's quite important to note that this is the largest third-party certified of business-owned, controlled, and operated by women in the United States. Pretty amazing. Let's give it up to Nedra to join us. And last but not least, we have Teresa Harrison. It's awesome to have her back again this year here. Teresa's a recognized leader in the industry. She leads sustainable and inclusive transformation as global director. She just obtained, as I saw on LinkedIn, a new certification at Ernst & Young Sustainability and ESG Series 2024. She works effectively to build awareness on the importance of driving inclusion and sustainability within the supply chain that delivers innovation to Ernst & Young. Please let's give it up for Teresa. Okay, I see a birthday drink from Natalie. Thank you. I will be enjoying that. Oh, I'll try not to. It is so wonderful to be here in conversation with you all. And to be honest, I mean, when I was researching, I mean, I know a lot about you. I know your grandma's first names and everything. No, I'm joking. It's me being a journalist, reading a lot. There is so much. There is so much. And I think about people in this space that are probably starting out for the first time. They're probably halfway there, or they probably haven't even started anything for a number of years. They may have been procrastinating. There are so many businesses. It's all about the journey, isn't it? And I think if we kind of go from the beginning, what was that first push that made you think, okay, this idea I have, it could be a thing. This organization that's looking for someone, it could be me. Like, what was that first moment? And we'll start from you.
Well, good afternoon. I've learned so much today. I learned that I'm old. I didn't qualify for any of those products, but amazing products. I think, you know, my parents taught me, and I'm from Arkansas, so very from the South. You can hear it in my voice. And they taught me there was only two answers, yes and no. So I'm going to ask, and I'm going to question, and I'm going to challenge you. So I was put in charge of our North America procurement at Accenture, which was a $4 billion portfolio. And I started going through that portfolio, and I was like, wow, there are no small or Black-owned businesses in here at all in this $4 billion. And when I go and I question our chief procurement officer, they were like, well, they're too small and too risky. Now, y'all know that was a challenge for me, right? And when I realized that there were so many amazing businesses that we just had to rewire how people think about them, then why not me? Why not take on something that was started because Ray Toomer, who kind of started the program at Accenture, was limited because he was very nice. He's an amazing person, very nice. So I realized that I had to maybe not be so nice about it and show them facts and data and show them what they were missing. So I think at that point, you just have to really show everyone what they're missing because they don't know. They don't know what's great. They don't know what's spicy. They don't know what innovation really is. They're going to use the word innovation. They don't know what the word is. You got to show them. So why not us?
Like that. Thank you. Well, Lucy?
So for me, growing up, I grew up in the context where I was never, especially my dad, who we lost 2 years ago, never made me think of myself as a girl or first a girl, I guess subsequently as a woman. So in my mind, when I think of Lucy, the first thing that comes to mind is not that I'm a woman. That's not the first thing. But it is part of who I am. And I'm mentioning this because, of course, we're in a women's empowerment session. So it meant that throughout my life, anytime I'm faced with a challenge, my first response is not, it's because I'm a woman. There may be so many other reasons. Maybe I need to find new skills. I need to talk to some people. There's a reason, but it's not because I'm a woman. And this really led me to my career, which started in engineering because my dad was an engineer. By the time I realized that people thought that women shouldn't be engineers, I was like 17 years old. It was news to me, literally. I was like, really? I had no idea that I wasn't supposed to like math because my dad just did it with me and he did his engineering with me. And so that really has created a mindset in me which says that if I want to do something, the most important thing is to go from the thought, the idea, the vision to action, right? My kids will tell you every morning, I tell them that you have to be up and doing. When they wake up, they're like, Mom says we should be up and doing. And they know what that means. You need to have a plan. You've got to be onto something. You can't just wake up. So, in my career led me into telecommunications. And at one point, I was the CEO of a telecom company, which was a really big deal for many people because I'm, again, a woman, which, again, wasn't part of my thought process. But then what happened was a lot of people saying, especially younger people, mentoring, guidance, how do we try and do some of the things you do? And so I started writing. And the reason why I highlight this point about writing is that a lot of people think engineers can't write. They can do math, but they can't write. And so I started writing, which culminated eventually. I wrote over like a 4-year period, mainly on social media, and which then culminated in my book, which is right here, which was spoken about. But the book was really as bringing everything together to inspire particularly young Black people around creating the future that we know is possible, because we need to create prosperity for our community. Now, when I was writing the book, every single time I had that moment of, you shouldn't be doing this, I went back to my mindset, which said, what's the worst thing that's going to happen when you write a book? The worst thing that's going to happen is no one's going to read it. You're not going to die. Nothing else is going to happen to you. So I went ahead and I went for it. So I encourage you, and it's doing really well, to the point. But the point is that the worst that could have happened is that nobody would ever read it, and I wouldn't be on this panel, and I'd still be fine. So when you're faced with a challenge or there's an opportunity, at the very minimum, try it. Don't walk away from it. Just at least try.
Yes. Initially, I was going to be an attorney, and that's what I thought my career path was going to be. Now, instead of being in a courtroom, I'm in corporate America advocating for ethnic minority-owned businesses, women-owned businesses, LGBT-owned businesses all across the globe. So I'm still doing that fight every day. I grew up in a whole house full of entrepreneurs. My grandfather owned about 6 funeral homes, a grocery store, ambulance service. I still have cousins that own their own funeral homes. So I grew up with a lot of people that had a lot of grit, what I see in all of you, because it takes a lot of guts to do what you do. To every day get up and go fight for the passion that you believe in. And so for me, I just celebrated my 20th anniversary at Ernst & Young, doing this work and can see that we've impacted over 200,000 businesses and helping them grow $2 billion worth of spend for diverse-owned businesses. And so for me, it's that gratitude that you give us the opportunity to go battle for you every day. And so I think one of the things that I see is that this is an opportunity and a platform that we get to use. And we do have some folks that don't use it and abuse it. And so for me, it's letting you know who those people are that really are going to advocate and fight for you to get you in front of that corporate America door that you're trying to open, because it is a process of how we look to do that. So I think for me, I've gone to that kind of, the attorney, the lawyer in me has gone now to advocating for this particular fight. And it's becoming a bigger fight, particularly for us in the States. But it's one that I'm really willing to go and enjoying the journey, because it is, I think, what you talked about. It's a journey for all of us, and you learn something new every day. And you take all of that with you every day. So I think for me, it's just, don't give up that grit, because you're fighting. And it's changing how we see in our overall supply chains, the innovation that you bring in, the creativity that you bring in, and the minds that you're changing by what you're bringing, the products and services you do.
It's incredible. It really is, to the point where I would love to just follow you all for a day in your lives. Like, ATL, it's always been on the bucket list, and just, I'd love to. And just seeing how you navigate your day to day. And Teresa, you literally just made a point about, once you're in, it's kind of like, okay, this is where the grafting does begin. But I find when you're in a space where you're immediately the minority, right? Like, you're the only one with the braids, and, your name sounds a bit different to others, and so forth, and your backstory is different, social class, everything. That is something that, even when I speak to young mentees, it's one of the hardest things ever. Whether they're in corporate journalism, PR, you name it. When they don't see themselves, it's hard to show up as their authentic selves. And I'd love to throw it out to all of you again. How do you kind of navigate that, especially if, you're very passionate about excelling in this industry, but that representation is just invisible?
It definitely is. I go back to my parents, and they told me that you can never bring 100%. So much as everyone says, the company's going to say, bring your authentic self, we're never going to bring 100% of ourselves. And you all know what's going on in the States. Pray for us.
We do.
And, it's very difficult. And Teresa and I talk, it's daily, and it's where we lean on each other, because we do know that it's a collaboration. It's a small knit group, and we all have the same common denominator, is that we're here and we have a voice and a platform, and it's going to get tough. And we're going to have to band together to make sure that we grow these businesses. So when we're the only one in the room, it's very difficult. And I'll tell a quick story. When I was promoted to senior manager at Accenture, I was so excited. I was telling everybody I just got promoted. And I went to my first meeting, and I went in, and I opened the door, and I said, God damn. I was like, I'm the only woman and the only black. Did you guys just check a box? And then I said, no. I literally stood in that room, and I say, no, you didn't. I'm here because I belong to be here. And then I just went on and said, in fact, I checked everybody's background that was in here, and I just figured that it wasn't a woman in here. Maybe somebody's name might have been unisex, but I didn't really think that I was going to be the only one in the US in a company that has 750,000 employees globally. And when George Floyd murder happened in the US, there was about 9,000 of us in our group. And my boss's boss called me at 10 o'clock at night to want to know if her memo read politically correct. And I said, I'm sure it probably does, but you don't think it's something wrong that I'm your only black partner out of 9,000 for you to call? So I'm never going to be able to bring my authentic self, but it's important for me to be there because I got to keep fighting for the next one to come up. I can't be the last. I might be the first, but I will not be the last.
So, the engineer who likes words. I have a thing for words, and I have a thing for spoken language. And so I encourage us that there is so much that we absorb through words, and some of it is good and some of it is bad. So I don't like the word minority. If I see it in a PowerPoint, I'll take it out. Because black people are actually the global majority.
Those
Those are
Giving
facts.
them
You know?
numbers.
I know the numbers. For me, the idea of being myself starts with taking captive, and you know, I'm a Christian. The Bible talks about taking every thought captive. I take every word captive. Minority shouldn't be there, and because we're surrounded with all of these narratives, invariably, and I really ask every single person in this room, if you haven't done this before, do it when you go home. Think about how you respond to situation and the context that you find yourself in predominantly day to day, whether it's your business, whether it's your job, whatever you're doing, and ask yourself how much of that time are you a victim versus a victor, right? Because being your full self, or whatever percentage of yourself you can afford to be, is really predicated on which of these words describes you. Because if you feel like a victim in a situation, you will invariably diminish yourself. It's just the way it is. You want to be small, you don't want to be heard, you don't want anyone to even recognize that you're there. Or you can have a very strong voice that says, how come I'm the only one you have to call? I know who I am and I know what I'm worth. And my authentic self is not just about how I look and how I present, but what I bring to the table. But I can't bring all of the very best of me to the table, which is not just about being black. The same way I don't think of myself as just being a woman, I'm not just black, right? I'm so many things. I'm some people's mother. I'm, this person in my church. There's so many things that make me who I am. But it starts from assuming and knowing and understanding that I'm victorious.
Yes.
That is where it starts from, because it's about our mindset. So I'll encourage you to do that exercise. But look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I never slip into victimhood. I'd be lying. But you have to take every thought captive and say, how am I thinking of myself in this moment and in this time? And is it time to get myself? I talk to myself, not in the way, I'm like, no, Lucy, we're not thinking this right now. We're not doing this here.
Yeah.
No, we're not having a pissy party. No. Next. And I encourage you to do the same. That's how I think myself.
I love it.
I think it's been so many times that I walk in and I'm the only one in the room. Now I just show up. I'm like, it's like I tell my entrepreneurs, show up and show out.
Yeah.
Because that's, what they're really going to do. And I think one of the things, too, is you surround yourself. You have your personal board of directors, and you got your champions, the people that are going to speak highly of you so that people understand who you are. Because sometimes you want to have the pity party. You want to stay you don't want to be the one speaking in the room. But sometimes you have to speak up. And I think it is all of our responsibility to lift as we climb. Because as people, particularly in supply chain, you don't see a lot of black females, black males, what have you, in that overall profession. And so it's very important that we know where the next group is going to come from that will be there to support us. So building that pipeline. So I think it's encouraging for all of us is that I love that don't be the victim, be the victor. Because you're going to have those days where you don't want to show up. But I'm like, show out. Just show out. That's what I said.
I mean, I could go on and on with my questions, but time is fast spent, and we'd love to obviously open the floor to anyone that has questions for our amazing panel. So I don't know if it's a project thing or if there's someone perhaps going around with a mic. But if anyone does have a question, oh, hi, oh, I met this gentleman earlier, and he has a projective voice. So I feel like everywhere will hear you. But please, yeah, feel free to introduce yourself, and then you can ask the question.
Hello, Abby Dubai. I think at least half of the room was here.
You can come up there.
Yeah. Oh, God. Good point.
The question I have was,
think.
it's a problem we encountered, and I saw it in a bigger fashion about 2 years ago, which was in terms of...
I'm so sorry. Do you think you could come up here, please? Sorry, thank you. I know I'm making you the president now, but I just want everyone to hear you.
Be accessible.
Thank you.
Sharp and short, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So the question I had was, it's a problem we've encountered at least 2 times in a major way, which is when a program is put out as a general program, and we're trying to get more women inside it, it's a tricky thing. And I'll give you an example. And I'll give you some theories. And I really hope I can get some insight from you ladies, which is, there was a program which was judging in, it was for entrepreneurs in Uganda. Now we know for a fact, data-wise in Uganda, that there are more women entrepreneurs than men, just because the culture of the place, women stay home most of the time, so they do most entrepreneurship stuff. But when the program was put out, 90% of the applicants were men, 10% were women. And the program specifically was actually focusing to try and bring in more women. Now, my thought was, if these multi-million-dollar people who tried to do it failed, how do we approach that? Because there's a cultural thing as well, which is pretty much some of the women believe that that's not for them. Some women are like, are we going to be accepted? How do we navigate that space? How do we bring in more women into opportunities for them?
Thank you.
Yeah, so we have a program called Entrepreneurial Winning Women, and it's about 15 plus years old. Right now, it's got about 800 women in the program globally, and it's specifically focused on accelerating the growth of women entrepreneurs. And so we actually just launched applications for EMEA, so that is in Africa as well as the UK. So I'd be happy to talk to you. But what we saw was, so we have a program for Entrepreneurial Winning Women. We also have a program that's called Entrepreneur Access Network. That's for Black and Hispanic in the US. We have an Indigenous program in Canada. So what we really tried to focus on was what was specific to them, because there are different challenges as it relates to the different entrepreneur, particularly around women. And so what we saw with women is a lot of them are too busy working in the business rather than on the business. So there's a lot of different steps, and they get a 12-month kind of EY ambassador to help them go through that growth cycle. So I think it's about us bringing actually that program and showing other women about them and about what they gain from that particular access and becoming comfortable with that particular program and what they're going to have access. And it's limited, I think, to women. So it's not open to men in that particular program. So I think it's about really building an awareness around the understanding of what the purpose of the program is, because one of the challenges I have with entrepreneurs is y'all have a lot of programs. There's a lot of corporations that have a lot of these development programs, and you have to know where to spend your time, what's going to actually help you grow your business. Because some of it, yes, you do need some of those fundamentals, but what you're looking to do is how you grow your revenue in your organization. And that's what these particular programs do, is they're growth generators, not just teaching you just regular business discipline. So I think it's about evaluating the right program and that it's the right messaging that's going to get them involved and want to be a part of the programs. But happy to talk to you offline.
And I'll just add one thing to that is we are women in supply chain, because I'm aligned to supply chain. So we make sure that women are there to see the gaps in the supply chain to be able to bring those businesses in for women. But one of the things I was taught early on was the pie equation. Does everybody know the pie equation? So it's like 10% is performance, 30% is your image, but 60% is exposure. And so we try to make sure that we get those women entrepreneurs exposure. And why this is so important, I've had women own businesses that are amazing that I didn't have an opportunity. I'm gonna text Teresa and I'm gonna be like, here is an amazing business that you need to leverage. And she does. So it's about getting that exposure out as well. And I think that's what we have to make sure that we do to keep them there, to let them see that.
Yeah. And in the context of Uganda, I do have a suggestion for you. So in 2016, I was working in Ghana. I was running a company there. And myself and 5 other women who are also running we're all running multinational companies, realized that we had become each other's support system, and we knew how to reach out to each other. But we wondered what was happening to all the other women up and down the corporate ladder, but also the entrepreneurs who didn't have a network, and we noticed that there was a void. So we launched the Executive Women Network in 2016. We're 8 years old now, still running and thriving. We now can actually afford to have an office that runs the organization. We provide programs for women at different levels, but it also means that when organizations like yourself want to do something in Ghana, they will come to the Executive Women Network and ask for these women and encourage them, of course, through the network to attend. So if you don't have anything like that in Uganda, it's also an opportunity to create, because where there's a void, you create it. 8 years on, I can honestly say that there's so many women thriving. And now, the last conference we had in November last year, we actually had the CEO of United Way come all the way from the US to Ghana to be the keynote speaker. So you start something and it flies. It will take on a life of its own, but there's clearly a demand there. So I'd encourage you to do something.
Sounds good.
And I can tell you what we did offline.
Amazing. Okay, we'll have a question here at the front.
Hi, ladies.
Oh.
Are we good? Okay. Hi, ladies. I just want to say, as part of Gen Z, younger generation, I'm Kenyan as well, so when Vusi talked about Kenya, he was our people. But thank you for being trailblazers and going ahead and slashing the grass so that by the time we're coming, we have environments that are a little bit more friendly. So first, thank you so much. I'm really enjoying this. But also, I'm Carol from JC Co. And I wanted to ask, in your journey, they say so many things change, business changes, but I think we know as women, some things remain true. So I guess for us younger people, I want to ask, what are the 3 tips each of you could give to sort of do not leave this behind? If it's, don't leave this, keep it in your bag everywhere you go, every room you step into, for the younger Black women watching and sort of wanting to take those gemstones home as well. Thank you.
Good question.
I want to know too. I'm going to have in my bag.
I think the biggest lesson that I learned is know the difference between a mentor and a champion. The mentor is going to help you navigate the organization. The champion is going to be the one at the table that's going to get you promoted. So know the difference. It took me a little longer to figure that out before I got my last promotion. So I would say always be mindful of who you have around your circle, your advisory board, as well as your mentor and your champions. And that will rotate and change as you grow, because your mentor should change as you grow to that next level.
Yeah, I agree. Don't be afraid to evolve. You don't have to be the one thing you started out with. Or if you look around you and look at the context, you will notice that it's time for you to be conscious and intentional about your evolution. But don't be afraid of it. Don't say, oh, I'm not being myself anymore. Who is this person? You've got to allow that evolution to take place.
And I would add to be confident. And I think someone said it today, it's okay to fail. Don't stay there. You fall forward and you dust yourself off and you get up. But you walk in that room like you belong. I walk in every room. I belong there. And there's a difference in confidence and being cocky. Yes. Be confident.
Ooh,
Oh.
that.
I'm so sorry that that's all the time that we have, but you, of course, have seen our amazing panelists, so please feel free to grab them for a chat, ask any questions. They're all on LinkedIn, and this has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
I'll do one more time.